that's the precursor. Because after I published the book, a lot of people said, okay, you're going to do a podcast, right? Because this is really great. You've got to, I think you should continue. That just freaked me out. I was like, let me just celebrate this book first. And in 2022, at the end of June, I launched Painting Your Path podcast.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast. Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you're from in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you're a returning listener, we do appreciate you spending this time with us. And if you're new here, we bring you the stories of the people from the San Gabriel Valley. So if you're into that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to our show. Scott, you are an attorney, but you don't consider yourself an attorney. You're like a businessman, a marketer, but you are an entrepreneur at heart, I would say, right? What has the experience for you been like being an entrepreneur?
Well, it's a very unstructured life in one sense, but you have to be very structured. You have to be disciplined, and I'm talking like I'm a pro and like I'm successful. So maybe I'm not the right person to ask, or maybe a lot of people should be asked this question, but that's what I think it means, that it's a life where you don't really know. So I heard one description of a football game, and it's a game where everything is scripted. You know what's happening. One play is scripted, the next play is scripted, the next play is scripted. There's a game plan, but actually you don't know what's going to happen after the first play. You don't know what's going to happen. So the plan is dependent on what happens on that first play, because you don't know if there's going to be an interception or a completed pass, or a quarterback is going to be
sacked.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just visualizing it, but it wasn't coming. Yeah. So you really don't know the second play and the third play, even though you've scripted it down to, every detail. That's kind of like an entrepreneur to me.
I see. Awesome. Going back to a conversation with my wife about schooling and education, entrepreneur, the title, doesn't really capture all the things, right? So she gave some thoughts around what it means to be an entrepreneur, and I'll read her thoughts and I'll read mine. So hers was feral human, nomadic hunter, friend of the land, sovereign creation, steward of resources, something that recognizes our freedom from constraint and acknowledges our created identity. And I said, it's freedom of expression to create, to work a lot or a little, to make adjustments and improvements in line with your own values and beliefs, and to pour the earnings into what aligns with your own values and beliefs. So entrepreneurs are many things, right? And it's both scary and liberating at the same time.
Yeah, and you didn't need to ask me. You already knew.
No, I wanted to give you some pressure.
Yours was a better answer than mine.
No, we like the football analogy though. Well, before we go on to our guests, I just want to remind listeners, check out San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on Instagram, sgv.now, and read their SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Well, our guest today describes herself as a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Multi-passionate entrepreneur. Her name is Clarissa Castillo-Ramsey. Clarissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So you reminded me of a conversation before, and I forgot because I have many conversations with guests, and they're so far back. But as soon as you walked in, you reminded me of this. Can you tell the listener what it is, this condition that you have that's affecting your speech?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed this year with spasmodic dysphonia, and it basically means that my voice cuts in and out, and it's due to all kinds of things. One is a little bit of overuse, stress, like we all have, and yeah, so I never know when it's going to happen, and it seems to be happening a little bit right now.
You say it's a spasmodic dysphonia, spasmodic dysphonia.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
It's not that common, and basically the vocal cords they spasm. That's why sometimes it sounds like I'm hoarse. And I have my own podcast, and so I do a lot of talking, so it's partly due to overuse of the voice. But I'm also a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and like we said, it's you never know what's going to happen next. So it's been a roller coaster of a journey, and part of it, I'm just going to be real, is due to some stress that we all have and we get to work through.
Have you always had this?
No,
Just diagnosed this year.
Just diagnosed
I'm
this
sorry.
year. Yeah.
Wait, so I'm sorry, I heard that, but diagnosed, like you could have had it for a long time and not had a diagnosis, but you've only experienced this symptoms this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think, like so many things in our bodies, it's definitely a mind-body connection. And, in the past, whenever I have been stressed out, like I have back pain or I'll have shoulder pain, and then when things change, when situations change, and magically that pain goes away. So I think part of this is just being new in the entrepreneurial space, just navigating my way. So I think that's part of it too.
Oh, so you're
New-ish, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know Russell always likes to get into the San Gabriel Valley connection first. So
yeah, I mean, the listener would have been curious though. Like,
yeah, right.
So I wanted to.
But I was going to follow up, but I'll wait for you to do your SGV magic.
Yeah. So Clarissa, the show is called the My SGV Podcast.
Yes.
What is your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Yeah, so I moved out here in 1996 from Boston. I had to get out of the snow. I went to school at Boston College, and I came out west to be with my brother, who went to Caltech and graduated from Caltech, and my best friend was out here as well. And I came out here with a boyfriend and some friends just to start fresh post-graduation.
Where did you grow up? Was it Boston also?
No, I was born in Michigan, in Detroit, and then lived in Texas until I was 18. Yeah.
And so you came out here to the San Gabriel Valley, and it must be very different from the places that you have lived before.
Yes, it was so different. And I always thought if I moved out to California, it would be San Francisco, because that reminded me of the East Coast, which I really loved, but I couldn't stand the snow. But we moved to Pasadena, and I've been here ever since.
I see. And you have a PsyD. I see.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you? I know what that is and how that differentiates from a PhD, but can you share with the listeners?
So I have a doctorate of psychology and organizational development. So it really focuses more on the practicality versus like academia. And I spent my last career as an organizational psychologist in healthcare. So what does that mean? I got to work with aspiring leaders and teams, and all for their development, and just how to work together as an effective team. So all the soft skills.
Right. I'm so curious. I want to go back to your speaking, because I'm having to fill in the gaps, and I'm not having trouble with it. Do you hear your voice go in and out, or does it seem to just be at the same volume for you? I hear it. You hear it
going in and out.
Okay. And then you don't try to like adjust it to compensate. You're just speaking.
It's if I talk really high pitched, it seems to be better, but that's just not my voice.
Yeah. Yeah. That must be really challenging.
It is challenging. And I'm also in the middle of putting a launch together, an online event. I'm just doing the best I can.
Are there days or periods of times where it's completely returned, or is
there is, and it really, it's so weird. It's very random because it's different even with the same people. Like sometimes it's fully there and other times it's not.
I see. So sorry, let's go back to your journey. You had described what it is that you were doing in the healthcare.
Yes.
Right? And do you enjoy that?
I did.
You did enjoy that.
Yeah.
And what did you enjoy about it?
It was just helping the team members just see what's possible for them, especially when it came to their career path. And I am all about possibilities. I'm all about helping people just get to where they want to go. So I helped develop leaders and get promoted, and just also helping the company culture improve. That's what I love.
What did you love about that?
Just like seeing the camaraderie with the employees, just wanting to make their workplace better, and just learning from the different ideas from people at all different levels. I think in corporations, there's just a tendency to focus on, well, what does the boss think, or what does management think? And I think it's so important to get everybody's input, because that just makes things more dynamic and rich.
What size companies did you work with?
I worked with the healthcare company. I have lost count. They probably have about 600 to 800 dental practices across the U.S. I've also worked in food and beverage for the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. In a former life, I was a graphic designer, and I've also worked for an HR consulting company in downtown LA. I also worked at Caltech when I first moved out to California, just kind of as a go for this, go for that. I just had many different hats.
And so those are all companies that you worked for, but you are a multi-passionate entrepreneur.
Yes.
So what does that look like in your life?
So I have a couple of different things that I do. I'm an artist, so I have art shows. I also have a podcast called Painting Your Path, so I do that.
Is that about art?
It's about creating life on your terms. So a lot of the guests are artists, are creatives, but not entirely. And I focus mostly on midlife, people who are in midlife. I'm also a coach, so I have one-on-one clients as well as group. I also do groups, and something new that I'm venturing into because of this is wellness. So just doing different workshops around self-care, around anti-burnout, and I'm starting to seek going into organizations to talk about wellness and employee well-being.
Did you feel you were worn out, like say last year?
Yes.
Before you had the diagnosis?
Yes. Yeah.
You were worn out?
Yes.
You had overworked yourself?
I totally did. I totally did.
You were just, a type A personality that wouldn't stop?
I think I just, because I left the corporate space in like mid-2021, and I just wanted to figure it all out right away. And last year, I did a lot of launches, so I'm not afraid of launching and trying things and testing things out. But I think I just pushed myself to the limit.
What other things happened to your body? Is it just the voice that really hit you? Is that, yeah.
But in the past, like I said earlier, I've had like back pain. And I had shoulder pain, and I had like psoriasis, and I think just all of that comes just overworking.
You couldn't relax yourself?
I have like different self-care practices that I did, but I think, and I would get relaxed. And then I think I just went through this up and down of relaxing for maybe too long. And then it's like, okay, I've got to get back into the swing of things. So it kind of, honestly became a little bit of a roller coaster.
Why do we push ourselves so much?
I think part of it was, for me, excitement, just being in this new
like
venture.
A drug? It's like a drug?
Kind of, yeah. Just like, let's try this. Let me, just try that. And I've had fun along the way, but yeah, by the end of 2022, even one of my peers said to me, "Clarissa, you kind of look tired." And I was like, and we were supposed to do a live session together. And so I think that was really, and it hit me to have somebody else tell me, like, I think maybe you need to slow down. And so that is really what this year I have slowed down a lot. But now it's like, okay, now this voice thing came about.
Yeah, so someone is showing something to you, huh? Right?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I learned, because you may not know it, I'm 27 years old, and people tell me I look like I'm in my 60s, and
you need to take better care of yourself.
And I don't believe it. I think I can live like this forever.
Wow. Were you, well, before I go back to that, you asked, why do we do that? I think it's an identity thing, Scott. I think people are so caught up in wanting to be seen in a certain way that they keep wanting to do, right? Because my identity is tied up in me doing. And if I stop, then who am I, right? Rather than them being secure in who they are. So we keep continuing to chase that. But
yeah, and I think it's ever evolving. And I think, when I started out, I definitely was heading in one direction. And then just over time, I feel like, okay, things are shifting. And to your point, yeah, I think a lot of this becoming an entrepreneur is the biggest self-development journey you could ever take. And so I just feel like this is another iteration of who I'm becoming, as well as the business.
Were you aware during that time that you were perhaps not balancing, rest and work?
I think I knew it. And I live right by a trail, so I would definitely make time to go out and take a break. But I think it's just wanting to be visible. To your point, it's a brand new business, and just putting yourself out there, sharing your offerings with the world. So
it's interesting. People, well, I'll use a car as an analogy. We're aware of certain indicators that something is really wrong, right? Check engine light, or let's say steam coming out of your hood, or worse, the car stops, right? And those things are indicators that there's real trouble, but there's also indicators beforehand. And in our own bodies, in our own lives, in our relationships that matter, there are indicators, but we don't, maybe not everybody takes the time to say, okay, if this is happening, that's an indication that this relationship or my body is not well, or something like that. And it seems like we don't take the time to safeguard those until you see something that's like really blowing up. Yeah, I just don't, I guess it's human nature like that, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful that it's like there's nothing structurally wrong. So that's the silver lining.
Is it going to come back at some point? What's the...
It's hard to say. People live with this for decades. And I've also met people who have been able to recover from it after, several months to a few years. So we'll see. The remedy is, one remedy is Botox, but that just freaks me out. So, yeah.
Wow. Then is that just lifelong?
You have to keep going back.
Wow.
You have to keep going back to get that. So I'm not willing to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes, like experiencing this. And I would imagine like, I'm thinking, okay, this is just going to go away. It's going to go away.
I know.
Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and it's going to be fine. And then,
right. And there are days where it's totally fine. And then there's days where it's like, it doesn't hurt, but it's just annoying.
Sure.
It's so annoying.
I'm sorry to keep, mentioning this. I'm just curious about it. And I know this is not your identity and what you're all about, but
yeah.
I am just very curious about, what that means. And it could be anything that someone encounters or like, a new thing about themselves that they have to deal with.
Yeah. And I think I spent the first half of the year just trying to hide it and not talk about it. But I think this is super helpful.
Yeah.
It's like when I lost all my hair, it's like it just all of a sudden it was gone, right? And you wonder, well, is there something wrong with me? Or will it come back? Or am I sick? Or, and like it's something completely out of your control. But it takes time to understand and adjust to it. And you get embarrassed about it, or you just don't know, why it happened.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that it's out of your control, but it absolutely affects your identity, the way people think about you or look at you.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's like, I can't let that hold me back.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah.
Clarissa, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance. What did you bring with you today?
I brought my book that I published, Painting Your Path.
Okay.
Oh, so it's interviews with women.
Yes. And I also did a painting for each of the women as my thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
A painting for each of the women.
Mm-hmm. Based on
I can see, yeah.
Based on their favorite color and quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how did you choose the women?
How did I choose them? Thank you, social media. I put a post out on Facebook and I got such overwhelming response.
What did the post say?
It said, I've always wanted to write a book and I'm going through another pivot in life. I'd love to talk to you if you are over 40 and you're living a life that you love. You're doing what, you're living your purpose and your passion. And that is how I got the women. Some of them are my friends. So I interviewed 21 women.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. It's very interesting. It's each one. It's just like a podcast.
Yes.
And you just want to learn about the person.
Yeah, and that's the precursor. Because after I published the book, a lot of people said, okay, you're going to do a podcast, right? Because this is really great. You've got to, I think you should continue. And that just freaked me out. I was like, let me just celebrate this book first. And in 2022, at the end of June, I launched Painting Your Path podcast.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. And congratulations on the book too.
Thanks so much.
So
yeah, it's a very, very interesting book.
Yeah. And that copy is for you guys. I brought it.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you, so I see how the genesis of this, your friends tell you need to do a podcast. So are you just like, searching YouTube and Google how to do a podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of that. I actually took a course.
Was it Pat Flynn?
It wasn't Pat Flynn, but I love him.
Okay. Yeah. He's awesome.
Love him. It was actually through a lady named Kathy Heller.
I haven't heard.
Kathy Heller. Yeah. She had a podcast called Don't Keep Your Day Job. She changed the title since then, but after hearing her podcast, that's what inspired me to write the book.
Okay.
Because I always wanted to write a book, and then I thought, you know what, this is perfect timing. And this was before I left corporate, but it was during that time where I was like, I've always wanted to work for myself. And this was like at 2018, 2019 when I put this book together, and it got published in 2020. And that was around the time when I really asked myself again, okay, this dream that you've had to work for yourself, when is this going to happen? So I started out by writing this book as a way to share stories, but also for me to just hear what did the women say about what did it take to let go and move forward.
I see. You definitely have this feeling about you that would put your guests at ease, I think.
Yeah. I think that's one of my superpowers.
Yeah. I think you have to have that. And, that's my superpower as well, right? Like you have to have that to be able to get people to feel comfortable and give them space to open up. So how has the podcast been for you? Are you enjoying that?
Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. And the nice thing is I also do online summits. So I have interviewed so many people that I can also leverage the interviews that I've done for my summit for my podcast as well, if I need to give my voice a rest.
So talk about what a summit is for those who may not know.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So a summit is, it can be a single day, multi-day event around a certain topic. So I am going to have a fall summit called From Cubicle to Creative Life, where I interview different entrepreneurs on different topics, and it's all for multi-passionate, aspiring entrepreneurs.
There's many themes in this show that, people have overcoming tragedy and struggle, people coming here as first, second generation immigrants, and then people leaving their corporate job to do what they're passionate about. Those have been like a lot of themes here in this show. So people are this is, I would guess, an evergreen topic. People are always wanting to know how to do it. Yep. What are the steps? Yes. Aren't you afraid?
Aren't you afraid? I have a whole day dedicated to that.
Yeah.
All around mindset.
So you help people leave corporations or their 9-to-5 jobs and pursue their passions.
Yes.
And in particular, the creative types.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes after working together with people, they discover it's too scary. They don't want to leave, but they are also pursuing their creative endeavors, whether it's part-time as a side gig or a hobby.
What are the biggest struggles for people that are trying to make that transition?
I think it's just, am I going to make it? Am I going to be able to replenish my income?
Do you ever see anybody who is so confident that they know they're going to make it?
Not entirely. I think there's always that aspect of a little bit of doubt, like, is this going to work? But it's something that I always say to them, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. I think that was Henry Ford who said that. And I think it's true. Like, I love vision boards. I love doing that. And I love helping, doing that with my clients just to see what's possible.
Yeah. Vision board.
Yes.
So digital or are you cutting out pictures?
So the workshops I lead are I do it in person. So it's old school with magazines and everything. That's me. I like that. I think maybe because I'm an artist. But I also do classes online, and some people choose to do theirs digitally.
I wanted to do a magazine vision board with you before, right? And magazines are not so easily accessible now. I mean, maybe a dentist office, right? Or a doctor's office has those, but yeah.
And I just put out on Facebook, who has magazines that they're going to throw away? I'll take them.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, I know what a vision board is. Can you share with the listener what that is?
Yeah, so I like to call it a creative way of goal setting. I actually have my vision board because I wasn't sure.
Share it.
I'll just share it real quick. So this is mine.
Yeah, perfect.
From this year, and it's a fun way to really ask yourself, well, what is it that I desire to accomplish in the year? And it's just fun to do this with other people and just be in that land of possibility.
So this you've got $100 bills. You don't accept anything less than $100?
That's it.
Yeah, okay. And you've got this scene.
Yes.
Is this like a serene living arrangement that you?
It's so something that I've been wanting to do in my business is retreats. And so it's just that symbolizes just like a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is this? Is this you and is this younger you?
Yeah.
How divine? Or is that?
That's me as a little kid, just as a reminder to whenever I'm stressed out, to go back to that little child.
Did you have a stress-free childhood?
No. No. So my parents came here from the Philippines, and so it was just very much about building their medical career. So I'm just going to say I grew up in a typical Asian kind of household where it's very much about achievement, and I am grateful my parents did not push any of us to go into medicine. I think in childhood, I just was so focused on making my parents proud, like so many of my Asian peers.
Did you?
Did I?
Yeah. Do you feel like you did?
Oh, yeah.
Was that expressed to you, that where you felt it?
I as an adult. Mm-hmm.
But not as a child?
Not so much.
So then I'm returning to that, like doing, right? Like to do. Why do we go to do? And it's in my experience, like trying to feel that thing or fill that void, maybe that you
could
want.
Be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Clarissa, we're going to get more into the things that you're involved with in your entrepreneurship, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
At WarmuthLaw, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. Their multicultural staff have been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast.
All right, we're back with Clarissa. Clarissa, before the break, you were sharing with us your vision board, and which was really cool, and some of your upbringing with your parents. Coming back from the break, we like to ask questions of the guest from this card game.
How fun.
I'm always hesitant now to say it's lighthearted because one time I said that and Scott's like, wow, it's really not.
Yeah, it was like,
it was really
how
deep.
often do you have suicidal thoughts?
Oh my gosh.
No, he's joking. He's totally joking. It wasn't no, it wasn't like that. So now every time that rings in my head, like,
it's like, what's going to come out?
So they're from this card game called Icebreakers. You can choose to answer it or not. They're just to get to know you a little bit better. So the question is, if you could only eat one meal every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh my God, one meal? That is so hard. I'm going to be lame and say pizza because I love pizza.
Wow.
I don't think I could. I don't ever get sick of it.
Where's your favorite pizza place around here?
Oh my gosh, there's so many, but I love POV.
POV? Mm-hmm. Where's
in
that?
Altadena.
POV.
It's called Pizza of Venice.
Okay.
And it's on Fair Oaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scott.
Probably what I had this morning.
Oh, what did you have this morning?
I had 2 eggs over easy and 4 pieces of bacon.
Was this at Denny's?
No.
At home?
It was on Lake Boulevard, a place called The Rain.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah,
yes.
Wait, did you go straight from the hike there?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So breakfast food. Oh, you do like breakfast stuff, huh?
Oh, I do. Yeah. I eat breakfast like 3 times a day. You know.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well,
sourdough toast too.
This is an easy one for me. It would be char-broiled or char-grilled ribeye.
Oh, yeah.
Because you eat that 90% of the time, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. And whenever I cook it for anyone, and I'm sharing this with them, I'll say, like, they're like saying, "Oh, this is so good." And I say, "Yeah." I go, "I never cooked it." And I'd be like, "You know what? I don't like this anymore." Never once, and I never said I'm tired of this. So yeah.
Yeah, he does eat it 90% of the time.
gosh.
Seriously, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could only eat one meal every day for the rest of your life, what would it be? Let us know in the comments. Drop us a line, and we'll read it in a future show. So, Clarissa, back to you. I just have a question on a personal note. What's it like growing up with a hyphenated last name? Because I did, and it sucked.
Oh my gosh. Like sometimes I'm tired of saying my full name. And sometimes I'll just say Ramsey. But yeah, I don't know. I just decided to do it.
And legal documents, it's like, it's tough, right? Like,
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll be honest with you. Like, my legal name is just Castillo. I didn't ever switch it over and my husband hates it, but it was just too much.
Sure.
So I didn't change it.
So you're doing this podcast. You have the book. What else are you involved with?
Yeah, and I have my coaching practice with my one-on-one clients and in groups, primarily focused to help them create their corporate exit plans and transition into their business. So just helping them figure that piece out and do it in a way that minimizes like the fear and the overwhelm.
And how are you obtaining these clients?
So I do online events, as I mentioned earlier, the summits.
Oh, that's right.
And that is how I have gotten most of my clients, is through those events.
And are you're sharing with them the overall plan, possibility, what it looks like, and then they're like, oh, I want to do this, but I sort of want some one-on-one guidance to get through it.
Yeah, because it can be, you can only get so far listening to podcasts and books. And for me, like, that has just been what I needed, is just getting support. And I think for people who want to transition out, they could try and do it on their own, but I think that's just an uphill kind of battle.
What do you get from helping these people transition out?
Yeah, so just it's so like satisfying to see them know that it's possible and to take the action, put themselves out there when maybe they've never done that before, and just getting the results of whether it's like selling their artwork or teaching their first class and making money and just seeing that it's possible. So, yeah.
So much of what I see on social media now, the advice given to, let's say, get out of the rat race. I don't know. That's like maybe a very poor analogy, but to leave their corporate job, right? And they're pursuing, I'll say, financial freedom. It doesn't have anything to do with what they're passionate about. They're just saying like, oh, do this thing and you'll make money. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, like you're gonna hate it if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But so much of that is, and so are people pursuing, in your experience, the people that you're working with, what they're passionate about, or they just want to make money?
They're pursuing what they're passionate about, because that's something that I always mention to them. Like, don't do it just thinking, okay, all of a sudden I'm going to become a millionaire. What's deeper than that? What's your why? Your purpose for even wanting to pursue this adventure. And some people do realize, they're like, no, this actually isn't what I want to do. But it's also just giving them that space to really kind of test it and see.
Like doing drop shipping. I see that all over the internet.
That's been around for 100 years, I think.
and affiliate marketing and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, there's just, it's so inundated with it.
Yeah. And you really have to figure out like what's going to work for you, because there really is no one size fits all.
Sure. Like,
just do this and then it's going to work. No, you've got to really tap into what's calling your heart.
And the other question I have for you was, and I'm assuming that it varies depending on people's situation, but is it more so like the advice that you give to jump in fully, or is it to sort of like spread it out over as long a period of time as they can? Or
yeah, I'm not one of those burn the boats kind of girls. So the people who work with me tend to want to leave, like they give themselves like 3 to 5 years, and I'm like, that's perfect. Just you don't have to leave tomorrow. You don't have to leave in 6 months. In fact, I think it's good to now's a great time to experiment, to see whether or not this truly is something that you want to pursue.
And these are people in their 40s,
like
or
30s,
40s,
like mid 30s on up.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And specifically with creatives you're working with. So people who want to create or be creative in what they're doing. So
Yeah. And they're also multi-passionate. So they might be an artist, but they also like facilitating and teaching. So it's about helping them figure out, well, what could that look like? And have multiple streams of income.
I'm just curious, do you also teach them like how to, let's say, do an online course or do a webinar and draw in traffic like that? That's what you're showing them?
I'm also showing them how to do that in the most simplistic way.
What's your favorite platform for online courses? I'm just curious.
You know what? This is so not sexy. I just do it on Zoom, and I have a YouTube studio where I upload it, to just make it private and just distribute it to the people who purchase.
So I like that, and I always wonder, like, why can't people do that? So there's all these platforms, and like there's it's crazy to filter through it. And but I knew that this existed. That why don't people do that?
And that's what I do. That's what I do with my summits.
You send a private link, not unlisted, and you they pay for, and you send them the private link upon receipt.
Yeah, and so far that's working.
And you're sort of managing the payment. Oh yeah, how do you accept the payment?
Just through, I take it all, but primarily through Stripe.
Huh.
And must be cash because you saw her vision board.
I did. I also saw there was a $10 bill in there, though.
There was?
Yeah.
What happened?
I take it all.
That's not surprised.
Ran out of hundreds?
That's fascinating. I love to hear people, learning and doing new things.
Yeah.
One of the great stories from Pat Flynn is Dr. B, who I follow her podcast and actually, have followed her and done her work along with my wife. But Dr. B took his course, started podcast and an online course, and she was 70.
Yeah. Oh, that's so inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got the whole camera set up, like everything, amazing.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't have to be so complicated. And so with my clients, it's like, let's just get started. Don't overthink it. Like, let's just go.
Do you have a client story that you can share and you can keep them anonymous of either they're really super successful and happy now, or one that you're like, oh, you should not, you should not take this jump. You should stay where you are.
I can share both situations. So I had a client who, her name's Caroline, and she initially, and I started focusing on how she could manage her boss, like manage that relationship. She is a web designer, and so initially I helped her with that. And what we worked on, and this is going to sound so ironic, but we really focused on self-care for her and just creating a schedule that would work for her family life, her work life, and her entrepreneurial pursuits. And I'm just so proud of her because everything that we talked about, she implemented, and she was able to leave her day job to be a full-time web designer. And I swear, every time I see her on social media, she has won a grant. So she's thriving, and I'm just super proud of her. And in contrast, I had another client who I'll keep anonymous, and she was in my group, and we were just doing the work. And she, by the end of our time, she was like, I am not leaving my day job. I'm just going to pursue my art on the side. And I think that's fine too.
Yeah.
You've got to do what's right for you.
In the doing the work with you, did she discover for herself, like was it that she wasn't that passionate? Did she not have the confidence, or was she just comfortable? What?
I think all of the above. I think like in so many jobs, if you're well paid, it's kind of like golden handcuffs to keep you there. She just I just sold her like all of them. You have to be visible. You've got to put your work out there. You've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about yourself and share. What is it about your work that you're most proud of? And I think it just was too much.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing those stories
Sure.
With us. Well, Clarissa, we're going to move on to the final segment of our show where we get to learn a little bit more about you and what you like in the San Gabriel Valley.
So, Clarissa, what are 3 things in the San Gabriel Valley that are meaningful places or places that you enjoyed?
This was such a hard question because I have like a long list, but I'll share 3 that I'll share. The first one is in Altadena. It's a gift shop called Hoopla Emporium. Right now it's on Fair Oaks and Ventura, like around there. But I think they're moving, and they just have if you're looking for a gift, like that's unique, highly recommend. So that's the first spot.
Hoopla Emporium?
Yes. Hoopla Emporium.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Awesome.
It's on Altadena?
It's on Fair Oaks.
Oh, Fair Oaks, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's like Fair Oaks and Ventura, just north of there.
Okay, cool.
That's the first place. The second place is Garney Meat Market in Pasadena. So if you're looking for amazing meat to bring to a barbecue, I've been going there for probably over 20 years.
Where is that?
It's on East Washington.
Okay.
East Washington.
Can you
in
say the name
Pasadena.
again?
Garney.
Garney.
Yes.
Garney.
Garni.
Oh, Grni.
Oh, Garney.
Garney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Garney Meat Market.
Yes.
What kind of meats do they sell there?
The owners are Armenian.
Oh, okay.
So it's just super tasty.
So is that right around Allen?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
right.
so many great spots right in that
Yeah.
stretch.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
There's a.
Is it Stater Brothers right there?
Close by.
Okay.
Yes, close by.
And there's a closed Armenian market right on the corner of Allen and New York, I think.
I have
so
not.
that's a little farther up.
I
Yeah.
haven't been to. I think it's Armen Market.
Yes.
I haven't been there yet, but I've heard great things about that
But
place.
is that open?
It's open.
Oh, it is. Okay. Well, it's funny because I always drive past it going to when we go up to hike, and so it's like 6 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I thought it was closed for some reason. But good,
It's open.
it's open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm infringing on your SGV.
That's okay,
So-
but that's a good one. A place that I want to go.
and what's the third?
The last one is also on Washington Boulevard. It's my favorite ice cream spot, Bloomfield.
Did you say Bloomfield?
Yes.
I don't remember seeing that.
It's right next to a restaurant that I love called Deluxe 1717.
Oh yeah.
So,
What's the ice? I'm sorry, Russell.
Oh, no, that's what I was going to ask.
What's the ice cream shop like?
it's just everything that I've had there has just been so delicious and rich.
Yeah. Is it homemade or?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's homemade.
And it's a one spot place. Is not
Yes.
a part of a franchise or
It's just on its own.
Bloomfield.
Bloomfield.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I've driven by this many times.
Yeah, it's great.
What do you like to get there?
I like to get peanut butter cup.
Peanut butter cup.
Yeah.
Is that
It's
peanut butter ice
chocolate.
cream or
Yes, it's chocolate and peanut butter.
wow.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Okay. I think I'm going to have to check out Bloomfield sounds delicious, but Garney.
Yeah, and it's close by
Interesting. What do you typically get there?
at Garney.
Yeah. Marinated? Marinated. What is an Armenian?
Like hot wings or lemon garlic wings. They also have quail if you like quail.
Wow.
And just kebab.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
I never
it's
knew.
so good.
Really?
So fresh.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing those with us.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, Clarissa, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey with us and the things that you're doing. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so I would definitely say check out the podcast, Painting Your Path, or you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Castillo-Ramsey.
Oh, you used it in your Instagram, the full.
I use the full.
Wonderful. Well, Clarissa, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was quite interesting to see the use of a tool like the vision board and how someone, sort of finds their passion in helping others. I think helping others is always the most rewarding and fulfilling path that we can all take. So if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. If you want to check out more of our episodes, please check out our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Russell Mono and edited by Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.